Spartan Nation, what's going on? This is Ken, the super cool Spartan from Q the Woodshed. Back at you from a little hiatus here from the last game of the regular football season. Back at you with my partners in crime here, my brother Brian, the super mad Spartan, Quaffo, the super connected Spartan, Q the Woodshed. This is going to be I say a double show. We'll talk about the Rutgers game, which was another tough watch. And
do we have to?
And we're going to mix in our end of season review here. So it's going to be a twofold podcast for our listeners and viewers. So, yep, just buckle in. Yeah, what can we say? It's another downtrodden season. Everyone is at the lows of lows.
It's the hope season.
Yeah, we're back to the hope season. Everyone are doomsdayers as fans. Maybe a few sunshine blowers, as we go into next year. But definitely, to the majority of the fan base, are doomsdayers. So let's just get running.
I don't know about doomsdayers. I think like we hit our low point and rebounding at this moment.
Yep. So let's just get right into it, gents. Our initial thoughts we'll just start with Rutgers. 41-14, another blowout. It was another bad look. I mean, just all around. I mean, just what can you say? It was very brutal watch. Very brutal.
It was a poor showing by all.
Right. Even
just us, it's the fans included.
Right. Even the optics looked bad. It was Spartan Stadium was quite empty. Quite empty. It was snowing. Like, whoop.
It was cold.
Yes, cold.
It's very cold.
Very cold.
But if you don't think about it, Michigan State fans, I think it was predictable. After the Purdue game and seeing what Rutgers is going to be, and the weather's going to be bad. And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it's just apathy is set in at that moment.
Oh yeah.
Another losing record. No bowl game, 3 straight years. It's just you're tired of seeing the same. You've seen the same game already this year, and we keep on. It's just you get tired of it. It's like I said before, turn the game on. All right, it's happening again. All right, cool. I'll do something else. I watched the game to the end because, of course, I'm that type of fan.
Yeah, I watched it from start to finish too. Yes, a glutton for punishment.
That's pain. I was there, and I know Spartan Nation will be like, "Yeah, fair weather, bro. Ain't no fair weather. Like it's cold. Not that I wasn't cold, but we'll talk about that later. But like, looking out at the stadium, 15,000 people, like snow blowing. It was the saddest Charlie Brown Christmas situation you could have, man. And losing with the football, it was just sad, man. And again, we talked about where this program is at, where it needs to go. We'll probably talk a little bit more about it, but man, oh man, it was just in a must-win game. You just didn't show up, and Brian, you just mentioned it. The apathy definitely showed because it's like, there's only so much you can do, and so much of yourself you can pour into it, especially given the backdrop of now there's a 12-team playoff, and all these teams are going places and doing stuff, and we can't even make a bowl in Detroit, man, and that's that's very difficult to stomach. And what I'm telling all of our audience is nothing I haven't told, the people that I know in the know, in the athletic building. It's like, it's really tough with the way the economy is and the way the prices are. It's very difficult to justify. I know Graham wrote, and I love Graham. I've known Graham since we were kids.
Graham Couch, that is.
Yeah, Graham Couch it is. He wrote that piece a little bit about the fans and stuff like that, but I'd probably respectfully disagree. It's tough to go and
100% disagree.
sit there in this sort of environment with with just a poor effort and then have a situation where team doesn't perform well. This just get up and down the field. Rutgers is going, and Rutgers is not a great team. They're an okay team, but it's a team you should be able to beat at this point. And I know it was going to be a rebuild project, but it just was all across the board, just a really sad day, before the holidays in Spartan Stadium. And hope that sort of the valley before we get to the good stuff, and hopefully makes that good stuff more better. I still have full faith. We're talking about that pre-show, full faith and confidence in the staff. That hasn't wavered at this point. I know there's been some staff shakeup since the end of the season, since we're taping here today on a Tuesday. But yeah, man, it's a tough situation. It's kind of on the hockey, on the basketball, right? And that's not where it should be. In 2024, in newly formed Big Ten.
Yeah, I have read Graham's article because I usually read his. Cause I like reading his 3 hot takes or 3 quick takes.
Mm-hmm. He's usually pretty good.
He's pretty good. He's pretty accurate, but
it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, but talking about when he had his thing about the fans not showing up, and I agree with you, Quafo. It's hard to show up to any game, whether if doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, badminton. If you've gone through a bad season and you've gone through consecutive bad seasons, and it's the last game of the regular season, which was bad, it's snowing outside, it's cold. Pretty much everyone is like, you know what, MSU, I'm done with you. I'll see you in the, for that spring game. I'll see you, next fall. Of course, you're going to have an empty stadium because, as fans, you're paying all this money and you want to see a good product on the field or the basketball court, wherever. So it's hard to say that, even though it was a bad season, still should have showed up. Like, really, Graham? I'm not trying to beat up on him, but it's like, come on now, bro.
Exactly. If you think about how the team performed, we've seen the same game from them since Iowa. All right, they come out in the first half, first possessions, they're on fire. Offense is clicking, we're doing good. And then second half, turn the water off on offense, can't do anything. And then we get to Indiana. All right, we're already a little banged up. We banged up a lot in the secondary, lose 2 more starters. And then in Illinois, lose 2 more starters. Now we're in danger zone of defense looking like, okay, well, they looked. And it just kept going and going. And then Purdue is the final straw. We know Purdue was the worst team in the Big Ten. At least we thought they were. We tried to give that game away. Didn't score a point in the second. I had to hold on. And so to think that this team is going to go out and beat Rutgers and then if the weather and everything else, I can totally understand it. And I also get the point of view of, hey, you should root for your team in thick and thin. But you got to give some of the people something.
Right. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, in those days of thick and thin, it's really just difficult. I mean, college sports, and we can go on now for that tangent, maybe in the offseason, is really becoming extremely transactional in terms of the portal, and again, I am not going to be someone who says kids should not make money. You're never going to hear me say that. I'm never going to say that because I think their value to the university goes without saying. They should be able to make some money. But somehow the player movement and all that stuff, it has taken away a little bit from the product across the board. And that's not just because we haven't been in a bowl in forever, in almost a presidential term. It's across the board in terms of who's on this team. I mean, it takes you, the first 4 weeks of the season to really realize what your roster looks like and all that stuff. And that's difficult. and it's kind of more of a pro sports model. So along with that, you have to understand when people have frustrations and show it by either not showing or not buying tickets or that stuff. And I get it, the message shows recruits, but it's we are in a pact as fans, as alums, you're in a pact. And so like if one end of the deal is not there, then the other end might not be there, right?
Become more transactional.
Right.
It's extremely more transactional. Not the rah-rah for team. Yeah, you seen the fight song, a lot of stuff. But, with folks getting paid, we all have jobs. Like you have to perform to get paid. And so
Yes.
it's a very more transactional. It has changed the model. I don't know what the sport will look like in 5 years, if we're honest about it, like what college football is going to look like. But what we have right now, you gotta, there's an expectation from the fan base, and rightly so. And we all knew this was going to be a rebuild, but I think that's going to be, it's only going to be more polarized as we move through time, as so much money is poured into the sport. And again, it's transactional nature that seems to occur with both our student athletes and fans and the coaches even too. When coaches do the hop skill, I saw UNLV's coach just left. I'm like, you just got there, man. Like, damn.
Oh,
So,
he did? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a Purdue's catch.
Yep.
Oh, right. Okay.
Them's the breaks.
Yeah.
Haves and haves nots.
It was a wild time.
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you, for me, Las Vegas is a lot more fun than West Lafayette.
Oh, most definitely.
100% agree.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So let me, so what I did after the Rutgers game, I went on Facebook and I was reading some comments made by some of our fellow fans. Some were left on our Facebook page. Some were left other pages. So I'm just going to read all of the, well, not all of them, but the ones I picked, I'm just going to read off just to give, our listeners and viewers just a sense of where the program is at right now from a fan's perspective. Smith, not the right hire. Fire the OC. Buy better players. Marsh is gone, even though he said he's staying. Feel apathy toward football program. Very disappointed with team coach QB. Smith ain't ready for this. Should have hired Elko. Time to kick MSU out the Big Ten. These are some of the comments that I
hired Elko.
These are some of the comments.
That was an extreme one. Jeez.
These are some of the
comments.
Yeah. These are some of the comments that
Elko.
I read on, that were some, on our Facebook page and other, MSU pages. So I was just saying that to say, there's a lot of apathy out there right now among Spartan Nation.
Well, I can understand it. I think some of the points are way, way too far. I think given what Smith and company were handed, I'm disappointed with 5-7. I literally thought this team was 6-6 was the floor because we only had to have this game, that game. Injuries set in. People didn't progress the way we'd have liked them as quickly as we'd like them to. And so, it feels really bad, but I still think Smith was the right hire because everything we heard after the game and what we've seen these last 2 weeks, to me, has shown that, hey, they care, they're engaged, and they want to make Michigan State a winner as quickly as possible. And so I do agree with one part. Someone says that buy better players. That's unfortunately that's the name of the game. And Michigan State right now, if you in the message boards or follow the team, they're deep in the transfer portal trying to find the right fits for the team.
Yeah.
I can get there on most of the stuff. I get it's frustration, right? But maybe not everybody's opinion. Like everybody, I know we have a platform, but like some of these people, man, like Mike Elko, Ask people at Texas A&M how they feel about Mike Elko. Like, that dude, come on, man. Like, that one's a bridge too far. Like, we should have hired Mike Elko. He's older than Smith. He doesn't have yes, Smith has the sideline demeanor where he's not like animated or whatever, but he's making inroads in our Michigan programs, our schools in Michigan. If you look at those classes, okay, they're not, top 10 classes, nationally or whatever, but he's rebuilding the relationships that were frayed over the years with our Michigan programs. You got to be able to recruit Michigan, Ohio, Indiana,
Yes.
Illinois as a starter. You got to get this area. And he's trying to redo that, and it doesn't happen overnight. You got to start building a relationship. He's doing all of that, and he's making the right moves. And so I'm still very bullish on the full staff and all that stuff. And people got to chill. Like, I know I'm talking on both sides of our house. I just got done saying, you might not expect fans to be there and all that stuff, given the backdrop of how the season played out. But at the same time, you do also have to give the staff a little bit of time to get things working. If we're still having a discussion a year from now, that seat's going to get hot. I mean, because in today's college football, like, you can, you see all what happened down the road in Indiana, right? Bringing it all, a very similar a number of transfers, and they had a different outcome, coming from different spots and different starting points. But it can happen that quick now in this sport. And so, if we're year two, if it's year two, 1 year from now, we're not in a bowl, we're in some situation, I think some things can be asked. But I would say this is across the board. People having these kind of frustrations. Go talk to our friends in Madison how they feel. Luke Fickell, we should have Luke Fickell. What is he doing? You know what I mean?
He's in year 3.
Yeah, Luke Fickell. I think this is year at least 2 or 3, because I think he was the guy with the whole Tucker thing. So, our friends in Madison are probably having a similar discussion with similar type podcasts. So it's across the board. The landscape has changed. People just, give it a little bit of time. But I would say we probably can't give it too much time just because the landscape has changed.
And I'll say this, just to talk about, I know because this is a big thing on the message boards about, okay, how much time do you want to give Smith? Year 2 and 3 have to look better, because I want to interject that the schedules next 2 seasons are way easier than we played this year.
Right.
No Oregon, Ohio State. That makes it already easier.
Right.
Right.
So,
yeah.
You got to start getting it done. And I think, I think they have the pieces on offense right now, with Marsh and Childs to be special. And I'm glad that they're staying, that we know of right now.
They're staying.
And so I know a lot of, we can talk about fans, were not happy with Mr. Childs after the game. He made asked a question about the fans, said, I'm not going to care about what the fans think. And that's all anybody heard was that section of it. And then he goes on to explain what he said. It means like, hey, the people who stick with us, the people who want to be part of the team, the people who want to be here. I'm grateful for the people who showed up. He says all that. But then here, I don't call it care the fans. The QB should not care what we think. He should be mad like he was and thinking about next season, what she was talking about and how he can get better. And that's what I want to hear from our future starting quarterback. So I feel like we're in good hands there. Now, offensive line, definitely need some help, because I think that was the most telling thing about the season. The biggest part of the reason why they didn't make a bowl game, we got too many injuries and we didn't have the depth, and they just did not perform well throughout the season.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I second everything both you guys have said. I do think that Smith he was the right hire. I think he was the right hire. And I know that he's not the rah-rah guy because, even though I didn't pick some of those comments that I read, there were some of those comments about, Smith is too laid back, or, he doesn't show any emotion. He needs to be like Mark D'Antonio was, have a scowl on his face and whatever. But I mean, that's just not him. I mean, from the optics, I mean, it doesn't mean that he doesn't care. It doesn't mean when he is, behind the scenes, he may be throwing stuff all over his in his office, or maybe punching a wall or something. So, and To your point, Guafo, about giving, time. Yeah, you do need time to build, the type of, a successful college football program. May not be the time that you get back in the day, pre-NIL, but I mean, you had to give a little bit of time. I mean, look at teams like Colorado, for example. I mean, Colorado, they went 4-8 last year. Their last year in the Pac-12, they're getting whooped by everybody. Now, they just missed the playoff. And Travis Hunter, I think, is up for a Heisman finalist. So
he probably
schedule
is going to
helps.
win the award.
Yeah, so
I'm being real. Schedule does
Oh,
help. They
I
weren't
mean,
in the
yeah, it
Pac-12
does.
anymore.
Yeah, it does.
They weren't seeing Oregon, USC. They weren't seeing those teams.
Yeah.
So, but yes, to your point, turnarounds can happen after that second year.
Right. So we just have to, hope that help, works for us. I'm not saying we'll go 9-3 or 10-2, but can we win 7 games, 8 games? So that's.
Yeah, I understand. 7-8 is still. I understand where you're at, but it's still so low expectations right now. Like we're not even talking about competing for the play. We're just talking about, can we just make a bowl? Can we get 7 wins? I think that's part of people's frustration. They're still having this conversation of, let's just make a bowl again.
Right.
It's like it's been like that. That's like 5, 6 years. We just gonna make a bowl. It's I don't know. It's annoying.
It is,
but that's where we're at.
It is. Well, yeah.
That's where we're at, and we have to accept it. We have the people in place to hopefully change the trajectory a little bit further.
And I will say too that, which was a surprise to me, like right after the season ended, Smith, he did a 180 and bringing back the kid from East Lansing, who was going to commit to Alabama. So, I mean, that shows something, I think.
That's a good point. I think because, like I said, Crawford mentioned earlier too, we're hopefully at the valley. We're going up to the peak, because that last game of Rutgers, we lose our one of our top commits. He's a hometown guy. It's just all right. Sky is falling, and then Smith and the company work on it. Keep another few players, and and everything's starting to look good. Now, like I say, we're hearing our name around a lot of transfer people, which is good because we're gonna need some linemen. It's looking like we're back in the hope season, and it's looking the upward trajectory.
Right, and I'll say this too, that there are a good number of players, some notable names we heard throughout the season, who mentioned that they are transferring. But just because in the transfer portal doesn't mean that they can't draw their names back out and, remain at MSU. Some of those kids maybe just testing the waters to see, what their value is in this world of NIL. And if they find their value isn't that much, they may come back to Michigan State. But that's because you see a lot of names in the portal doesn't mean that all of them are going to stay in the portal. But I mean, you know how it is as fans. You just see, oh, my God, such and such has put his name in the transfer portal. Oh, my God, the sky's falling. He may be just testing the waters, and he may come back. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yeah. What I can say about that whole portal situation is, for some of the players, and we saw this last year, and you see it across the country, Michigan State is no different. If we're being honest, some of the players that end up putting the name in the portal don't realize, and I saw this quote somewhere, so I wish I could attribute it, but they don't realize they played their last college football game, right? Because you're like, I'm in the portal, I'm going to go somewhere, wherever, and then you're like, you get on the open market, which is an open market for everybody, and then it's like, oh, wait, you don't love me? You don't love me? But the dancing is stopped, and there's nowhere for you to go. So the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. And, for these kids, which I'm going to appreciate a little bit, just like some of the kids, they get in there, people get in their ear talking about stuff. It's like, sometimes in life, we all know the grass isn't always greener. And again, for some of these kids, especially some of the upperclassmen that are in the portal, you might end up in a good spot. But I know they've done some analysis already, like on, how many kids. I mean, obviously, you know, at Michigan State, we benefited from that. You know, someone like Kenneth Walker III, you know, is sort of a glaring example of how great the portal can be. Obviously, you know, Aiden Giles and company, but there's a lot of kids, you know, that end up, oh, I'm leaving Michigan State, I'm going somewhere. Okay, cool. Go ahead. We're still a name brand. We're still, you know, we're still in the Big Ten. You put your name in the portal, not everyone's going to Alabama or Clemson or Oregon or Texas. They already have their own, not only high school recruits, but they already have the targets they want in the portal anyway. So, like, you know, there's very few Derek Hardmans, right, that level up, right? They left here and leveled up. Very few of them. We can count on one hand how many people actually leveled up. There's a lot of people that level down or out of college football.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yes. So let's switch gears here for a second. Since we were just saw, you know, this all be categorized under our bad Sparty, I would say. Let's do a little goodness here. What are you guys' thoughts on some of the good points of the season? I know one thing for me is the growth of Aiden Childs, because, you know, from where he started to where he finished in terms of cutting down his interceptions, you know, cutting down on some of those, you know, erratic throws. You know, I could say that the young man has really grown, you know, from the first game to the last game, even though, you know, he was scrambling for his life more as the season progressed due to the lack of play from the O-line. But when he did have those moments to, you know, throw the ball, I mean, he made some pretty good decisions, you know, as the season progressed. So I definitely want to shout him out for his growth as our QB.
Yeah, he grew on the field and off the field, right? I mean, we talked about the press conference and people getting up in arms. It's like, you know, what do you want him to say? That's what a leader should say. Like, he can't, like Brian said, he can't care about what, you know, if you just read Twitter, you know, like a la Kevin Durant. Obviously, Kevin Durant's a great player in another sport, but like you're going to be messed up in the head, and you're not going to live your. I mean, I you know, in my daily life, I don't get on very much social media at all. You know, you have the people you trust, or you care about their opinions. Everybody else can go pound sand. So I like where Aiden's head's at off the field, right? Leading. Now he's got a full year here. He's been in some of these cold winters. We're about to get some more snow up this way, you know, this week. So he understands what time it is, how to lead. So, you know, he's going to lead in the weight room. He's going to lead in the off-season workouts. He's going to lead, you know, throwing in the facility. He's going to do all those things that a true QB1 should be doing. And so I'm happy about that. I'm fully confident. I haven't really talked to any of the coaches, but I am pretty certain that Nick Marsh isn't going anywhere as well. So you have those two as a lot of teams in the country would kill to have those two at quarterback and receiver.
Yes, indeed.
To start off the season. We make a couple moves in the portal. Obviously, we have, like we're talking about the young man here in East Lansing, coming in the fold as a freshman. Maybe he can contribute, maybe he doesn't. People in the portal. There's a lot of good offensively and even defensively. I know we lost Coach Meade out west, and I know message boards were going crazy about that. I was like, dude, the guy is really a Southern California guy. Like, what are we talking about? And he's going home. He took a better opportunity. Right. Yeah, he went home.
Yeah, you can't hate him for that.
To say that's true, but he went home. You cannot hate someone. Anybody who's on the message boards or watching the show would take that same opportunity. So, good part, the secondary played decent, call it 60% of the season, 65% of the season. The defense, for the most part, especially the first part of the season, really seemed to be in sync and understood what they need to do. Need to keep, a kid like Jordan Hall needs to stay here and hopefully keep him in the fold. But there's some promising signs. People didn't seem like out of position. It just seemed like by weeks 12, 11, 12, 13, whatever, like we just ran out of gas, ran out of bodies, didn't have enough stuff. So there was, the scheme wasn't, like in years past where like, what are you even running? That doesn't even look like it could stop anything. The scheme looked better for the most of the year, offense and defense. We just didn't get enough line play on either side, offensively or defensively. Our lines were not there. That'll be addressed in the portal. That'll be addressed through some high school recruiting. We can do a couple game changers there, help the outcome. And if we had a couple more of those game changers this year, we're talking about a different season. So a lot of good. I mean, if you really strip down, yeah, it's 5-7. But what we talked about, Boston College probably should have been a win in the rain. Michigan, we were in control of that game for a good part of it and let that go. Those two games flip. And it is a game of inches, but those two games flip. We're in a bowl, probably in a sunny bowl if those two games flip.
Yes.
So I'm still very bullish on the program. That's not just like, oh, well, the connected Spartan's just saying that because he's got friends. No, there's reason to be on the up. It felt bad. It felt like the bottom, but you got to go from the bottom to get to the top. And so I'm really bullish on where the team goes next year. We talked about schedule making a big difference too. As we know, teams and rosters right now, the schedule does seem a little bit better. We get Michigan at home, no Ohio State, no Oregon on the books. Makes things a little bit better. I think out at Iowa is a tough one next year. But
always,
we have some opportunities to make some noise. It doesn't take much. We look again. I keep pointing to Indiana. Does not take much before you can turn it around, and you're one of the 12 dancing.
Yeah, pretty much agree with most of your sentiments. I'm going to go somewhere that we were kind of critical of, the running back situation.
Mm-hmm.
Nate Carter. After something happened with the Michigan game, from then on, Nate Carter was basically balling for his team as much as he could.
Mm-hmm.
When he wasn't hitting the backfield, you can see why he was a captain. You can see what the coaching staff saw in him. He catching the ball, running through tackles. He was really, really good. Hope he does well in the NFL.
Right.
So that's my personal sex. I know we were really critical of him. And then said Nick Marsh, Aiden Childs, all good. We just got to really, like you said, we got to improve on the lines. I think if we can get the lines just to be okay, and if our offense goes where we think it should go with Marsh and Childs, that should be enough to at least get 7-8 victories with the schedule we have.
Mm-hmm.
Because Marsh is definitely looking like the number one receiver. They're working on the transfer portal there hard to get some additional help, some speed guys, a couple other guys. We'll see. But we're in the good hope phase, and it does feel I do have a better feeling about the program right now than I did last week.
Yep.
Ooh, boy.
Time heals all wounds.
Yes.
Yeah, I took a lot of notes after the Rutgers game, just raw emotion notes that, I'm not going to read. Because there are a lot of expletives, to say the least. But, yeah, since the Rutgers game, especially, seeing how hard the coaching staff, Smith included, really started hitting the recruiting trail, like I said, with getting the running back to us from Alabama, who's a hometown kid right there in East Lansing, to them talking to some players. And I think also to what you're looking for, Mr. Superman, Spartan, some O-linemen. I think I read that they looking at some an O-lineman from Northwestern. I think maybe he's a hot commodity or something.
Yeah, they hosted him or going to be hosted to him, and we'll see. We never know. And usually with the transfer portal, how it works, usually that you won't hear a name until they've committed.
Right.
It's different from regular high school recruiting. So there'll be some people like, I didn't know the school was talking to him, and they just pop up. So we'll see.
Right. A lot of stuff done in the back alleys.
Right.
I mean, let's if we're being honest about it, that's kind of how this works.
Right. Because even on signing day, I read that they signed, I think, a cornerback who was like a hot recruit, because I think Ohio State maybe wanted this kid. I can't remember the kid's name, but they
West.
Yes.
Aiden West.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He stuck with us. So, to your point, Brian,
These kids are not.
Yeah. There's some
I was
hope.
gonna say the kid. I just want to. There's definitely hope. The kids are not stupid. They're not going somewhere where they don't want to be, bag or no bag. Because at this point, if you're getting recruited for a Big Ten or a Power 4 school, you're getting a bag wherever you go. So you're going somewhere where you can play right away, where you can make an impact, where you have a connection with the coaches. Period. End of story. Right? Like so. Like yeah, they're not stupid. They're not gonna come here if they feel like, man, these dudes suck. Like I'm not going there. Like I can get the bag because you can get the bag anywhere now, right? It's in front of the light. You can get the bag anywhere. So, it's about fit. It's about how you're gonna be schemed up, and if you think you have the ability to even play the next level, how are you gonna be showcased for that? That's really what it comes down to. Yeah, the bag is nice, and people want the bag, of course. But we all want a bag, so
of course.
But the bag is generally equal. I mean, some people have a little bit more in the bag than others, but those schools, we're probably not the point where we're competing with those schools for kids at this point. So for those kids,
Look at Ohio State. They paid $20 million and didn't even make the Big Ten championship.
I thought it was 40, but either way, it was a lot.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, they got other problems.
They're getting taken down by an average football team.
Don't get me started.
Coach got lemon booty.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that dude's still talking to Lou Holtz. Talking to goes to Lou Holtz. Ryan Day. Don't get me started on that.
Oh, man. All right, Super Connector Spartan, what's the word on the street as for the end of season review?
Yeah,
anything good for the listeners and the viewers?
Well, you guys already talked about it, right? The staff is going to be working hard, working the portal, hosting people. You might see people sneak into basketball games and hockey games and this type of thing. So they're doing their due diligence. Winter conditioning. What is this? The 10th. So they're going through finals right now. Come back after the break. People are going to be hitting them weights. And, I know people on the message board talk about that too. It's like, if you've ever been in the facility and seen the stuff that they got to do, I mean, these dudes talking behind a keyboard, they can't even put up 125. They're talking crazy. Like there's the facilities, the staff is very, very well trained on nutrition, fitness, conditioning, all that stuff. So that's not even an issue. So they're going to be getting that going here pretty soon. Like I said, the staff's working hard, building those relationships. You'll have some of those coaching clinics, now that high school season's over. You'll have some of the, sometimes MSU hosts some of that stuff where they have coaches, kind of here and, they do some of that stuff. The Lansing area hosts some of that stuff. I think there's a big coaches clinic, maybe April. Don't quote me on that, but, they'll be going through right around the spring game. So they're building those relationships. And, we talk about the portal, but just as important and probably more so is high school recruiting, right? Like you got to get the young talent in here too. And so, like I said, the previous regime had been like, oh, I'm going to go to Georgia. I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to go to Texas, which is cool and all. But again, if you can't recruit, the Midwest, you're going to not win at Michigan State. And so you got to win at home. You got to win a lot of the kids in Michigan because we do have a lot of football talent in Michigan, as this class shows. And then you got to fan out, a couple states over and be able to dominate in those areas and have a relationship with those coaches. And again, you can't just build that in 9 months. You just can't just build like, oh, now we're cool and boys. It takes time for this staff to be in with high school coaches. A couple of staff obviously have been here before and been here a while. We always talk about Coach Hawk. He's great with that, as seen by what he's done on the recruiting trail at the receiver position. So, it just takes time to build that relationship. So I think they're going to be working on that, making those connections, making those authentic relationships. I think Coach Smith is really good at that, like really making a one-to-one relationship. So that's why you're seeing the Belleville kids coming here, River Rouge kids coming here, East Lansing High, these schools that have traditionally produced talent that goes everywhere else, they come in here. So, I mean, the word on the street is the work does not stop. There could be some a little bit of shakeup in the coaching ranks, but it's just gonna keep grinding, right? Not keep chopping. We don't do that anymore, but keep man, we're gonna keep grinding, and I'm very bullish on where this is going. Again, it takes relationships, and you're gonna see these fruits probably year 3, year 4, if everything goes the way I think it's going to go.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes. Any thoughts on that, Super Mad Spartan?
No, it's good to hear that they just, all right, just get back to the grind.
Yes.
Let's go. I know they didn't like to see that stadium like that at the end of the season, so I know they don't care. They don't care what we think, but they do care about the support. So I know they want to perform well. We want to perform well, so people show up.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, even though we are number one MSU football fans, you know, we can't ignore what's going on right now in college football. We got the CFP coming up, you know, so first year of it, 12 teams. This past weekend were all of the conference championships: Georgia, Texas, Penn State, Oregon, Clemson, SMU, et cetera, et cetera. What are your thoughts on the CFP, gentlemen?
Well, I don't think Ohio State's going to win it. Lemon booty is a disease. And so,
I'll say this. If they beat Tennessee, Danny Lanning.
They'll probably beat Oregon. Yeah,
Oregon, Danny Lanning he's a weird one too. He makes some interesting decisions, and he can fumble the game away. He hasn't done it yet, but he has a track record.
He's done it
this season.
He hasn't done it,
because he almost did it versus Ohio State when they played previously.
Yeah.
So I feel like Oregon kind of got a raw deal there that they're going to put him in the same spot to play a team they've already played.
Yeah.
That's kind of tough. Arizona State.
I feel like good. Texas, they look really good.
They do look good, but I feel
really good.
Like Texas is going to beat Clemson and Texas is going to beat Arizona State.
You know the team I'm looking at? The team I'm looking at is Notre Dame. I've been looking at them since that loss to Northern Illinois. Like, they're going to beat you up in a phone booth. They're going to play good defense. They're going to run the football. Like, you know, so that works for the home game. They're about to host the Battle for Indiana, which is going to be lit. I might have to drive down for that because that seems like that's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out about Indiana. We're going to find out again about Indiana.
Yeah. But to me, Notre Dame is a dark horse because, you know, if they can win the battle for Indiana, it looks like from the brackets, I'm looking here, they get Georgia. Georgia looks very beatable, right? I mean, they don't look like the old Georgia of old. We don't know if Carson Becker's going to be healthy. So, and then you're talking about you're in the quarter, you know, you can beat Georgia at the Sugar Bowl because Notre Dame travels. That's a nationwide kind of program. Yeah. So then you're in and then I like my chances, you know. So Notre Dame, for those of you guys in the betting world, man, Notre Dame is one you might want to put something behind a little bit. And then again, you know, Georgia, if they decide to show up, I mean, you can never tell with them this year. But Georgia, to me, is another one that has a good runway to win this thing. I don't really see Oregon winning this whole thing. I feel like what you said about Dan Lanning is true. Like somehow he's going to some way screw this up. And I do think if Texas, I mean, they have a nice little run the way this bracket sets up. Clemson does not scare me at all. No. Texas is an angry team, so if they start winning a couple games here, it's unfortunate that they weren't able to win the SEC, so they get the bye. So now they got to win 4 games to win this thing. But they have the capability to do that because, again, you got 2 quarterbacks that are very good. You have running backs. You have every position. It's like they're good against everybody but Georgia. So as long as they can stay away from seeing Georgia, which doesn't look like they'd have Georgia until potentially the finals, right? Yeah. So if Georgia can get out of there, Texas has a great run. So my picks are Notre Dame and Texas, you know, and then potentially Georgia. Those are my 3, I think, to win this first iteration of the 12 team. And hopefully at some point in the next couple of years, we can be in a 12-team playoff.
Yes.
Right.
I'm just looking at this. How did Penn State get so lucky? Like, they get SMU and then Boise State. I'm not saying they're terrible teams. It's just that ACC is not a great conference. And then the Mountain West that's what Boise State is in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what that conference either, so I don't know if.
I'll put it to you this
But
way,
James
though.
Franklin has a James Franklin's another one.
Yeah. I'll put it to you this way. I don't see them beating both teams. How about that? They're not going to beat both teams because Ashton Genty is that dude. So I know Penn State has a great run defense and whatever. But to your point, James Franklin, not worried about him. I think Boise State beats Penn State if they play. I know it's a neutral site. I got the Broncos because Penn State does not impress me at all. I know they played well against Oregon in neutral site. I'm not. James Franklin will find a way.
Are the first games? I thought this is all neutral site. Or the first game is home and away.
First game is home. So yeah, I think SMU having to come to Happy Valley, that's not great for a Dallas-based team. That's not great. But the winner of SMU Penn State goes to the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona. So you're talking about indoors.
Neutral site.
Yeah. Yeah, they run it through the bowls after the first round.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's teams 1 through 4. They have the bye week, and they play the winners of the teams that have their home games. So
yep.
So
from my perspective, it's great to have an extra home game.
Exactly. Just imagine, if we were talking about, December, we talked about, it wasn't just the cold, it was the performance of the team. But if we're like in 2025 or 2026, December 20-something, and you got East Lansing hosting one of these first-round games, come on, man. That's where we want to get to. Yeah,
especially if you're hosting a team that's coming from like out west or warm weather.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be brutal.
They're not ready for that.
Yeah, that's gonna be real brutal. That's real brutal.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the playoff. It'll be fun to watch these different styles. Again, usually you don't play games in Happy Valley in December, right? Season's over,
right?
So this is going to be a whole new, or South Bend. You don't play games in South Bend. You play basketball in South Bend in December, but not football. So it's going to be crazy to see these on-campus sites. I'm just hopeful that our program can get there at some point in the near future, because this is going to be off the chain of these four sites hosting, on-campus games. Woo! Hard tickets to get and all that stuff.
So, Quapo, you said you don't think Oregon's going to make it.
Nope. I'm not sold on the Ducks. I mean, either Tennessee or Ohio State. If it's Ohio State again, as much as we were joking about Ryan Day, Ohio State will beat Oregon against a neutral site. It's
neutral site for sure.
It's at the Rose Bowl. So Ohio State's been out there, done that. They played Oregon. I think
beat Oregon there before, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was about.
Was it last year? I think it was last year, wasn't it?
They didn't beat them last year. But anyway, it's been recently.
Yeah, Ohio State lost to Missouri last year in whatever the bowl game they went to.
Okay.
They played Oregon.
It's very recent.
Yeah, they played Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
2 years ago, maybe. I feel like I can see Jackson Smith and Jigba running. And so whatever year that was, when he was there, it was a back and forth game with Oregon. So, but yeah, I don't think Oregon survives the quarterfinal. How about that for a hot take? I don't think they survive the quarterfinal. Tennessee or Ohio State, you'll beat them.
So who do you think wins going to win it all?
I'll go with Notre Dame. I'll stand on that. I'll stand on business. Notre Dame.
Let's say you, Brian. Who you got?
I feel like if a team I feel like Georgia, if they play their best game.
But you can't predict when they're going to play their best game. I'm just
guessing. I really don't know. I'm just guessing.
There's no dominant team, so that's good. Yeah. Yeah, no dominant team this year, so it's kind of wide open.
I agree. I guess if I had to pick, I'd probably pick Texas.
Oh, that's a good one, too. That's a good pick.
I can see
Texas, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a good pick.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to watch.
It will. It's interesting how you guys were talking about Dan Lanning, Ryan Day, and James Franklin, how they have the capacity and propensity to mess things up for their teams.
They just make these decisions. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Penn State going for 2 randomly. Like, why are you going for 2?
Watching Oregon from afar this year, especially they whooped up on us. Dan Lanning, he's kind of he got a little arrogance, I would say, to his to himself, and I was rightfully so since they went undefeated. But yeah, he's kind of a red ass, I guess they would say. He's got a little.
They will be humbled in this playoff. Don't worry about it. They're about to get theirs. They will be humbled in this playoffs.
Wouldn't be the first time. They lose twice the Huskies last season on just
they
coaching
did
decisions mostly.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Much.
Well, if Notre Dame wins it all, Quaffle, we have an aunt that lives in South Bend, and she is Notre Dame to the fullest. So she'll be quite happy.
Sure.
Okay, well let's go for your aunt. I know there are rivals, but it'd be nice to see a historical team like that kind of pop up. I'm a big fan of Marcus Freeman, so that'd be nice for them to pop up and do something here.
Yes.
It's not another SEC school.
Yeah, shout out to our Aunt Pearly Love, who loves Notre Dame. She'll be happy we pointed her out.
Marcus, do this for Aunt Pearly.
Yeah, right. All right, gents. For the last time to wrap up our second season here of Cue the Woodshed. And first, let me say this has been, even though the team ended in the way they did, doing this season, bringing on, Quaffo, the Super Connected Spartans, Zilla Sports Nation. It's been a blast. He definitely added a lot of flavor, a lot more flavor, to the podcast here. So definitely good to have you on here, sir. Definitely appreciate you bringing your knowledge and word on the street and all your super connectedness, to the podcast here. So, but it's time to stump you as the Super Mad Spartan once again for the last time as we wrap up this our second season here, Cue the Woodshed, before we go off into the holidays and come back with some more hot programs for you guys. So, the question is, gents, how many MSU players are in the NFL Hall of Fame? 3.
This is multiple choice?
Yep. 3.
Okay.
5 or 6. How many NFL players who went to MSU are in the Hall of Fame?
I'm going to go 6, the maximum number.
I'm going to go 5.
Man, this time both you got it wrong.
Whoa.
Yes,
3?
the answer is 3.
4 to 3. Joe DeLamielleure.
Yep, him. Morton Anderson. And Herb Adderley.
Oh, wow.
I just feel like we should have more than that. Like,
hey, Bubba Smith is not in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Nope, not according to good old Google. It's Herb Adderley, Morton Anderson, and who you just said, Joe. Joe
DeLamielleure.
Yes.
Joe DeLamielleure, yeah.
So it's just those 3.
I knew the 2 of them. Yeah, interesting. All right.
Yes,
we'll get them next year. So, yeah. No, and then Ken, to your point, and Brian, to your point, it's been a great first season for me. Second season for the show. Great venture. Bigger and better things. We're going to come with, some fire for basketball. The basketball guys have turned it up, picked it up with a big win against UNC, and they've been rolling. So probably have some fun things, I think, planned as we move throughout the beginning of 2025 and start, all encompassing for Spartan Sports.
Yes, sir. That is the plan. And we're going to also do our Classic Spartan series. continue our Classic Spartan series. Going to have some hot interviews lined up. That's like last year with some classic Spartans all across the board, sports, non-sports. So you guys make sure you check us out there. Cue the Woodshed. We're all on social media. I'm not going to say my usual line because I'm going to make the Super Mad Spartan super mad. So
Thank you.
Just for you, little brother, just for you. So Cue the Woodshed. I'm Ken, the super cool Spartan. My brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. Quaffo, the super connected Spartan. Happy holidays to everybody. We'll see you in 2025. We out of here. Go green.
Yes. Go white.
Go white.